You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you're still loyal to a version of yourself that no longer fits. You say you want change, but you keep defending the very patterns that are keeping you small. You're evolving, but you're still acting like the old you. The truth is, growth requires grief. You have to mourn who you were to become who you're meant to be. That old mindset, it won't survive your next level. That old routine, it wasn't built for where you're going. The people you keep around because they knew you when. What if they're the ones holding you in place? It's not about cutting ties in anger. It's about recognizing that healing has a cost, and part of that cost is no longer fitting into rooms you've outgrown. You can't evolve and stay familiar. Evolution is messy. It's lonely. It's the wilderness between the old you and the new. But on the other side of letting go is everything you've been praying for. The question is, are you brave enough to bury your old self so your new self can breathe? The version of you that you're holding onto, it was never built for growth. It was built for survival. That old version of you was created in response to pain, pressure, rejection, abandonment, and fear. It's the version that learned how to stay quiet to avoid conflict. The version that settled because dreaming felt dangerous, the one that became hyper, independent because no one showed up when you needed them most. You adapted beautifully. You became resourceful, resilient, even successful by many standards. But here's the truth. Just because something protected you once doesn't mean it still serves you now. You're not that scared, small, reactive version anymore. But if you're still making decisions from that place, avoiding risk, shrinking to keep peace, performing for approval, then you're not evolving, you're repeating. The old you is like a set of armor, heavy, rusted, and outgrown. It kept you safe when you were at war, but now you're trying to climb mountains with it on. No wonder you're exhausted. You weren't meant to carry that forever. You were meant to heal from it, to thank it, and release it. But the reason you feel stuck now is because part of you still believes that letting go of that armor means letting go of your safety. But it's not safety anymore, it's sabotage disguised as comfort. The old version of you helped you survive, but this new chapter, it's about learning how to live. Here's a hard truth, you can't have both. You can't step into a new version of yourself and still carry everything and everyone from the old chapter. Transformation demands exchange. You don't just wake up one day evolved. You trade your comfort, your patterns, and your illusions for truth, responsibility, and alignment. And that trade, it's not easy. It's painful. Sometimes it feels like loss because it is. You lose relationships that were built on your unhealed self. You lose routines that were designed to keep you small. You lose approval from people who only clapped when you stayed the same. And you start to realize that old life wasn't really a life. It was a cycle, a pattern, a loop. But growth is vertical. It elevates you while shedding the weight that can't go with you. There's a cost to your next level. It might cost your silence because now you speak up. It might cost your people pleasing because now you have boundaries. It might cost your role as the one who always holds it together because now you let yourself fall apart to rebuild honestly. Every version of growth demands something from you. And the reason most people stay stuck is because they want the results without the release. They want change without the cost. But that's not how transformation works. You don't become something new by dragging your old life into it. You evolve by letting go, not because you're ungrateful, but because you're ready. Most people don't realize this, but comfort is often the enemy of growth. We say we want to move forward, to evolve, to change, but deep down we're still anchored to the familiar. Why? Because familiar feels safe, even when it's painful, even when it's toxic, even when it's killing your potential. You might hate where you are, but you know it. You know how it works. You know how to survive it. And so you stay, not because you lack ambition, but because you fear the unknown more than the discomfort you're used to. Let that sink in. Familiarity becomes a prison that feels like home. You keep the same daily routine, talk to the same people, replay the same thoughts. You keep one foot in the life you've outgrown and wonder why the other can't move forward. It's because you're split. You want transformation without disruption, but transformation is disruption. It shakes things loose. It makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to question what you thought was normal, acceptable, or just the way things are. You say you're stuck, but maybe you're just refusing to let go of what's no longer aligned. Maybe you're still trying to fit into the mold you were taught, even though it's suffocating your truth, the job, the relationship, the identity. It served a season, but if you keep clinging to it, you're blocking the very blessings that are trying to find you. You can't receive the new when your hands are still full of the old. You've got to make room. You've got to trust that what's ahead will require less pretending and more becoming. But first, you've got to release your grip on the familiar, because it's costing you the fut. No one talks about this part of growth, that to truly evolve, you have to grieve, not just people, not just losses, but versions of yourself you've lived in for years, versions you once needed to survive, versions that carried you through storms you never thought you'd make it through. See, you can't just change your mindset and expect the rest to be smooth, because transformation isn't just exciting, it's emotional. It requires you to say goodbye to who you were, and here's the hardest part, that version of you that you're letting go. It may have been broken, it may have been scared, it may have made mistakes, but it was familiar, it was safe, it was you. So now you're torn, because while your soul is calling you into something greater, your heart is still grieving the identity you're about to release. You have to mourn the you who stayed silent to keep peace, the you who accepted less because you thought that's all you deserved, the you who overextended, overachieved, and overfunctioned just to be seen, the you who had to wear a mask just to feel loved. And it hurts, it should hurt, because healing is not just rising, it's also reckoning. It's looking your past self in the eye and saying, "Thank you, but I don't need you to lead anymore." That grief is real, it's sacred. It means you're releasing layers of yourself that were built in trauma, fear, or scarcity, and stepping into a self that's rooted in truth. It's not an upgrade, it's a rebirth. So if you feel sad, lost, heavy during your growth process, don't resist it. That's the sound of your old self letting go, and it must, because you can't rise while dragging your past behind you. Keep asking for. Take a look around you, your environment, your habits, your friendships, your conversations, your space. It all speaks, and what it's saying is, this is who you believe you are. You want to change, you want to evolve. Then you have to ask yourself, does my current environment match the identity I'm trying to grow into, or the one I'm trying to escape? Because here's what no one tells you. You can do all the inner work, read books, listen to the podcasts, journal your intentions every morning. But if your external world doesn't reflect your internal shift, you'll eventually get pulled back into old patterns. Why? Because energy is contagious, environments are powerful, and identity is reinforced by what surrounds you. You can't heal in the same room that broke you. You can't grow while staying surrounded by people who only recognize the old version of you. You can't dream big in a space that constantly reminds you to stay small. Every environment has a language. Some environments say, stay where it's safe. Others say, you're allowed to evolve here. Some say, don't outgrow us. Others say, we can't wait to see who you become. So ask yourself, are the people around you clapping for your growth or clinging to your past? Does your daily routine inspire the future you want or reinforce one you're trying to outgrow? Is your physical space chaotic or peaceful, distracting or intentional? You don't need perfection, but you do need alignment, because when your surroundings reflect the person you're becoming, everything shifts. Your energy, your confidence, your decisions. You begin to embody a new identity, not just internally but visibly. And remember, changing your environment doesn't always mean moving cities or cutting everyone off. Sometimes it's as simple as drawing boundaries, choosing different conversations, decluttering your space, or creating quiet so you can finally hear yourself think. Your environment matters, because your future needs room to breathe, and if your current world is too full of your past, there won't be any space left for who you're becoming. We live in a time where reinvention is romanticized, new aesthetics, new morning routines, new wardrobe. Everyone wants a glow up, Everyone wants a rebrand, but here's the truth. Real reinvention has nothing to do with what the world sees, and everything to do with what you choose to face when no one's looking. Reinvention isn't about changing your look. It's about confronting your patterns. It's not a highlight reel, it's a breaking point. It's that moment when you realize, I can't keep living like this. And from that place of raw honesty, you begin the real work, because real transformation isn't pretty at first. It's messy, it's confronting, it forces you to face parts of yourself you've been avoiding for years, the insecurities you buried under achievements, the guilt you hid behind perfectionism, the anger you disguised as control, the fear that drove every decision you called logic. This kind of change doesn't happen overnight. It's not a trend, it's a shedding of old beliefs, of false identities, of roles you played just to feel needed. You begin to realize that true reinvention means doing the things no one claps for, saying no when you used to say yes, sitting with emotions instead of numbing them, walking away from familiar places that no longer feel like home, owning your story without shame but with responsibility, and the hardest part, you might not get applause for it. You might not get immediate validation. In fact, people might question you, criticize you, or say you've changed. But that's how you know it's real. Because reinvention isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to the version of you that's always been there underneath the survival, underneath the pretending, underneath the pressure to be someone for everyone else. True transformation is internal first, visible second. It rewires how you see yourself. It teaches you how to breathe again. It makes space for peace, not performance. So no, this isn't a phase. It's not a glow up. It's a rebirth. One that no algorithm can capture, but your soul will never forget. Let's be clear. Healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about changing, and change requires one of the most difficult, uncomfortable things you'll ever have to do: let go. You can't fully heal while still gripping the things that broke you. You can't evolve if you keep rehearsing the pain, protecting the patterns, and defending the behaviors that were built during your survival mode. We say we want peace. We say we want clarity. We say we're ready to rise. But part of us is still holding on to the old mindset that says, don't trust anyone. To the identity that says, you're only valuable when you're useful. To the pain that became so familiar it started to feel like home. And here's what most people won't tell you. Healing is not just about adding light. It's about removing the shadows you've grown attached to. Because pain can become a personality if you carry it long enough. You start to build your entire life around wound, your decisions, your relationships, your beliefs. It becomes a lens through which you see everything. But healing says you don't need to carry that anymore. Healing requires you to stop romanticizing the struggle, to stop waiting for an apology that's never coming, to stop returning to stories that only keep you stuck. The process of letting go isn't a single decision, it's a daily one. Some days it looks like choosing silence over the urge to defend yourself. Other days it's resisting the pull to go back to something just because it's familiar. And sometimes it's sitting in stillness, feeling everything you once tried to numb. Letting go doesn't mean you forget. It means you no longer allow what happened then to define who you are now. It means you trust that your future needs a lighter version of you. One who's not burdened by resentment, regret, or fault. Responsibility. You can't carry healing in one hand and your past in the other. Eventually you have to decide, which one do I want more? So now you're standing at the edge between who you've been and who you're becoming. And I know it's terrifying. Letting go feels like dying because in some ways it is. It's the death of old habits, old expectations, old versions of you that were never meant to last forever. But hear me. You're not lost, you're shedding, you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. This next version of you, it won't come from trying harder, it will come from releasing what you no longer need, the stories, the fears, the masks, the guilt. You don't need to find yourself. You need to stop holding on to who you're not anymore, because everything you've been searching for is already inside you, but it can't rise until you stop burying it beneath the past. So let it go, not because it was worthless, but because you've outgrown it, and growth, real soul, deep life, altering growth only begins the moment you decide to stop looking backward, and finally step into who you were always meant to become.